Hey guys, I know I don't usually do videos like this, or videos at all, but I thought it would be fun to show you how I made this custom action figure. So this, for those of you who are familiar with the Clone Wars, you probably recognize, maybe, um, if you really like the Citadel arc, you recognize him. This is the prison warden guy. He's the bad guy from those 3 episodes. This is O.C. Sobeck. He's a Findian, which is the primary reason I've been interested in him since I was like 13, 14 years old. I just really like Findians. I really wish they had made a hero Findian at some point in this franchise, but both the ones we get are villains in the show, so this was the first one we got, and honestly, I owe it to him for my interest in Findians, so he's kind of got that interesting landmark place in my brain. So I thought, they've never made a figure of him. How fun would it be to make a figure of O.C. Sobeck? So I spent, I want to say like maybe about 10 days making him from pretty much start to finish, maybe give or take a day. It's hard to say, you know, when you got a busy schedule. It's like most nights and afternoons. That's what I was doing. But thankfully, I ordered this kit on eBay. Funny thing, I actually have one in a scale up. Long story there. So I can show you what the pieces looked like without having to do any fancy editing, at least for this part. It's like a hollow body cavity thing. So what I did is, I'll show you later on, but I pretty much whittled the base body down to fit this on top, and I did some other goofy nonsense to make it work, but we'll get into that. The head sculpt is really nice. I'll put in the description the sculptor, and I can give you the name of the shop I ordered from. I think currently, as I'm recording this, there are 3 shops on Etsy that sell something like this. I've only purchased from one of the sellers, and he was really nice, good communication. But yeah, this is the neck. So all the pieces are pretty good. Sorry, there's a random hand in here that actually segues into the next part of what I was talking about. So for this figure, I've never done one of these before. Just full, honest disclaimer, don't expect a whole lot of experience and knowledge here. This is just what worked for me. So if you do things differently, that's totally fine. This is just what I did to get this. It worked for me, and I hope maybe the process will help you out if you wanted to make him or something similar to him. So I started, you can still see it's evident pretty much only in the leg from here to here, this part. I didn't really edit this much. I did a little bit of scrapey to get the edge off here, because he has smoother pants than this. I just didn't feel like going through all the trouble of making it look like he was in like leggings or anything. I'm like, because his pants are usually not that loose down here. They're a bit more tight-fitting. My sister, she's like, he shops at Lululemon, and I was like, yeah, he probably does. So, my always funny sister. But this here is the, you can see the base figure is the, what is he called? The client from The Mandalorian. So if you shop online, I found him headless on eBay for like $6 or $7, and I was like, yeah, okay, because I didn't really want to destroy a brand new nice figure to make oopie doopie here, so I just decided it would be good to see what they had for, like, I guess the word is fodder, like food. Not like I am your fodder, but you know, like so if you wanted to find an action figure, if you've never done this before, going on eBay, you could do Black Series Star Wars fodder, and you might find some bits like arms, heads, random accessories and gubbins, things like that, for a lot cheaper than you might otherwise. So I want to just kind of bring you through some of the tools I used to make him. I'll have process videos in a sec, but so there's him. He actually, I mean, I use it kind of, what's the word? Tentatively, I say he's fully articulated. He does work. He's just, he's a little stiff. I will say one thing, the client base figure is a little, it's the one I got anyway, the model I got, he's a little clunky. So these all work, but this is just as bad as it was before. This arm came out, oh, come on, focus. Can we focus? Okay. This arm came out a teeny bit squibbly, so it kind of wiggles around the joint. It's not coming out, but it's a little loose. You can kind of just give it a biff and it'll stay in place, but not ideal. I'll go through a little what I did wrong about that later, but you know, we live and we learn. But I think that on this sculpt, so from the shin down, this is all 3D printed. And honestly, like, really nice. Like, that's a smooth, seamless joint. Like, this is better than the joints on the actual figure in some ways. It's a little stiff, but like in the way you want it to be. Like, it holds its shape. I'm actually kind of glad I over sanded those because I had to put a lot of paint on them, and they hold the paint really nice. I did his hooves. There's no detail on the bottom of the figure, which actually is show accurate. Weirdly enough, they didn't add any paint or texture detail on his feet, so technically, there isn't. If you want it to be show accurate, I wouldn't have even painted hoof detail. But I was like, I don't know, if he's like sitting down, I don't want it to look stupid. So anyway, we'll leave him in the background ominously. So what I first used to get the figure apart was my fancy little Dremel. I've got it upside down. This one, I got it pretty cheap at like Harbor Freight. It's got, oh, don't mind me. This is kind of in my worky space. Okay. I don't know how people work with cameras right in front of them all the time, but it's got a little clicky here. It charges through the top, so you can't use it when it's charged. When it's charging, plugged in, which is probably good. It gives me a minute to come up for air from my project. But yeah, that's what that looks like. It's got a bunch of attachments. It came with these. I used this like rotary thing. It's loose right now, but this is what I used to hack up the figure, which you will be seeing process pictures of in a moment. I could probably tighten this with my hands. Yeah, there we go. So it doesn't fit in there when it's tightened. Obviously, you tighten it a little more securely with a pliers or something, but yeah, this is what I used. I don't know if it's carbon fiber or some other junk. I'm not somebody who uses power tools very often. I do a lot of hand sculpting and stuff, but this is kind of a different caliber of work than I'm used to. But oh, there's my focus rate. Okay, I don't know what's wrong with my phone, but yeah, this goes in here. If you do get one of these, just a warning, you're gonna want to use a wrench to tighten this, because this might fly out if you don't. It almost did on me a couple times, which isn't great, so just warning you so you don't get a carbon disc to the face or something. That would kind of stink. And then I bought these separately. They didn't come with the kit, but I would highly recommend it if you do anything like this, or really any work of any kind where you're going to need to punch holes or sand out sockets. These are diamond tips that I got also. I think it was also Harbor Freight. It's like the one time I went in there. I'm not advertising for them. That just happens to be where I got all my junk. So yeah, these are really helpful. They work really well. I would say though, keep like a stiff brush on you to get the plastic gunk out when you're working, because it will gum up some of those. There's a word. The grittiness of it gets kind of sanded over, and you'll end up just creating a lot of heat and getting nowhere, and it won't be fun. Yeah, so this is a really compact little, I almost knocked him over, thingity, and I like this. I've never had a Dremel this powerful before. As a kid, I had like a craft Dremel, and my goodness, I ran that thing into the ground. It was so much fun to use, but of course, I was a kid, and I had a lot of spare time, so most of it was spent putting holes in pieces of trash I found. Good fun. I mean, I liked it. So let's see. We talked about that. What are we on now? Right. I would definitely recommend getting you some just gel glue. It doesn't have to be this one specifically, but this is one I like. You can get it I got this at like a hardware store, so you can literally get it anywhere. Pretty sure dollar stores carry it if you have those where you are. I mean, if you don't have this at home, it's good to just have for everything. Like, obviously super glue is important. I use that to hold most of the things on him together. Also, this is really, really good for stiffening up joints, and I don't mean just pour it on the joint. I mean like if you've got like a ball joint, and it's not fitting into the socket well, it's kind of loosey-goosey, you can totally put like a light coat on the inner part and let it dry. Can't stress this enough. Let it dry completely. Give it like a day. And then when it's nice and dry, you can try refitting it into the socket and you might get a tighter fit. I had to do that with OC's head. So you can see it holds its shape now. It was a little squibbly. It's not as tight as I would like it, but I didn't want to push it because I tend to kind of overdo it sometimes. Like it has to fit better, and then, so you can see his neck has the 2 joints, which is nice. I like that. I really wanted to make sure in building him, I retained that. His body doesn't have any movement. He can't kyphosis, lordosis like some of the other guys. But I definitely like the way it looks on an aesthetic level, and I wasn't gonna, this is my first figure, I wasn't gonna try to hack the body in half and try to sculpt it to fit. As it was, the client figure didn't have a lot of forward movement, like the hunchy, stoopy, like hand-wringing villain type posture. You wouldn't do any of that. He could only bend back. And I was thinking with OC, he really only kind of stoops forward, so I wasn't really, there was no slunch to preserve. There was no slunching happening, so I didn't really see a point in trying for that. Let me see. I forgot to get something out of my little closet here. There we go again. Not a professional video. This is almost gone, but I love milliput. So when I made the, oh goodness, yeah, when I had to do some work with I had to slice the original body in half, the one inside here, the one you can't see, the hidden base body that attaches to the hip sockets and junk. This stuff's great. So if you want to reinforce a figure, I would highly recommend getting some milliput. This stuff isn't as attractive looking. It's more like concrete. It's great though, because you can sculpt it and you can sand it. I think I might have actually used some when I was sanding down his hips, because he has pretty narrow, his pelvis is very narrow, see, so but he still has muscular legs, so I was trying to get that like kind of almost cartoony proportion happening because the original figure didn't have it. But I ended up over sanding that pelvis piece, and I put a hole in the plastic. I didn't realize there were hollow parts, so I did have to use a bit of this to kind of smooth it over. And honestly, you can't tell unless you know what you're looking for, so that wasn't so bad. Didn't mind that too much. I mean, we make mistakes, right? This stuff, mine is really old, but it's super good. I've had this for probably 4 years, so it's getting a little lumpy. But so, for example, on his arms, these were, I mean, they still are, the client arms. And this shouldery bit here, like where it comes out of his body, those, this whole thing is just my sculpt. It's not amazing, but I just needed it to not look like wrinkled fabric, and I just wanted it to look like lizardy, reptile, ape, dude skin, whatever this thing is. He's like a repto-simian guy, little crocodile, little ape. But I wanted to get that skin texture, and I tried to keep it a little bumpy to match some of the other things. I wasn't going crazy, but like, I just thought it would be fun to do something along those lines. So this stuff it's a 2-part. I wish I could, here, let me move you back. It's a 2-part epoxy. So yeah, I got this on Green Stuff World. I think they're based in like Spain, so it will take you a while probably to get it if you live in North America or in that general region, but honestly a couple weeks is usually good. I only have to order from them every couple of years because I feel like they're pretty well stocked. I get most of my stuff on there. Moving on from that, so we talked about the glue. Also, definitely if you have a gappy thing you need to glue together that isn't going to be a close fit, this I've been using since I was literally a little kid. It's not as horrendously toxic as some of the other paints that one could use. I feel like it's not that bad. Let's see, warning. So it's flammable. Definitely good to keep in mind, but yeah, just surface prep before you use it. This stuff does erode paint though, so if possible, I mean, obviously emergencies happen, things fall apart, but if you use this, please please use it before you paint, because if this gets on acrylic, it kind of melts it. I don't know why, it just does. Acrylic paint is soluble in this stuff, and it turns into like a gunk. If I suppose I could probably try to show you. I think so his knee pad popped off at some point while I was building it, and I don't know if you can see it. Maybe you can't. Maybe I painted. Yeah, I think I painted over it, but you can see this, like, oh, maybe you can't. There's like a spot here where I had to kind of glaze over the glue spot, and it didn't go great. But this is sorry, I'm rambling in this video. This is gonna be so long. But yeah, I did some paint. I got some paint from Green Stuff World. This was one of the colors I used for his skin tone. I have a lighter one of a little more sort of milky green that I used. And I have a wash that I used on it too. This isn't the one, but I have a bunch of these, the wash inks. I love Green Stuff World's wash inks. If you don't get anything else, get a black wash, and maybe something that looks good over a skin tone, something in sort of the brownish, yellowish, pinkish range, something that looks more human-y or creature-like, something that gives a little bit of, I don't know, makes them look less bloodless and cold. Sometimes it's good to have a little bit of warmth in the shadows. One thing I really liked, I have these little teeny tiny Vallejo sample paints I got. Wow, that is not, don't you want to look at it? Don't you want to see it? Okay, camera does not care today. But I get these, I got like a sample pack of these, and this color definitely saved me on this one a little bit. It's like dark flesh tone or something, and I used that to kind of I dry brushed on him before I put the wash ink on. It's what I did for like the lips and some of the darker tones on him. I think it's a great color. It's sort of this like warm, it's not quite, because I feel like a leather brown doesn't have that red in it. This is more of like a mahogany plum color. It's really pretty, but I do not want to stand. What's going on? There we go. You do want to stand up, don't you? Okay. For brushes, I just use like junk brushes. Like these are literally, you move back there. Okay. Just junk brushes. You can get them at any craft store. These are Princeton Select. I don't think that's very expensive. Probably a couple bucks, but it'll last you. Acrylic brushes are good for acrylic paints, personally. I like using natural brushes for watercolors, which I do use more frequently. Obviously not for action figures, but just in my art stuff. Yeah, I guess I have a couple of these, but like a little dab brush like this, like just for a spotter. What do they call it? Flat shade or petite, I guess. I don't know the names of these things. A good dry brush is important. I don't know where this is from. Royal and Langnickel. I don't know. Some of these I get secondhand. I'm not like advertising any specific brands. I just, if you see these, that's what I use. This one is frayed beyond comprehension, but it's incredibly good for like you know, just like dry brushing. I'm not going to bother doing a tutorial on how to dry brush, because I'm sure a million people who are better at it than me have done better videos on it than I could do. This one is insanely small. This is the Insane Detail by Army Painter. I don't do army painting, but the brand, the Army Painter, is good for little teeny tiny things. They also made, this is the other thing I wanted to show you. They make a wet palette, which is really good. I put a Green Stuff World sticker over their logo because, once again, I don't know. I feel like Army Painter just sounds funny to me. So this is a wet palette. You'd fill this tray with a little bit of water, or you would soak this foamy thing. It doesn't look foamy right now. It looks like a prawn chip, but this, when it's wet, is like kind of like, it gets super squishy, and it's really absorbent. It doesn't evaporate quickly out of it because it's such a finely meshed kind of dealio. And then these I can't think of the word. It's like tissue paper. These little parchments. You can put one over it, and then you put your paint on that in the tray, and the paint doesn't dry out nearly as fast, so you can mix less often, so you don't have to like constantly try to match the same paint color, because that drives me up a wall sometimes. Yeah, I've been using that. I do miniatures sometimes too, so it's extremely helpful to have something to do that with. And then for the wash inks, I would not recommend putting them on the wet palette because they get, I want to use the word like sudsy. They get like kind of soapy. And then they leave bubbles all over your thing. And you can kind of blow on it sometimes, you know, if you kind of like give it a little velocity, it might pop the bubbles, but I mean, excuse how disgusting this is, but this is usually where I put my wash ink. I just have this junker thing. I really ought to clean it, but for the sake of the video, I'm just going to show you. You don't need it to be. All you got to do is make sure there's no loose bits. And whatever you've mixed on here doesn't come up with water, and then you can just keep using it. I mean, I'm not striving for perfection here, because yeah, I'm not a professional. I just thought it would be fun. So with him, yeah, I pretty much just I put him together, and actually I did most of the painting when he was fully assembled. I painted his head. I put some putty, and then, you know, because his neck wasn't attached yet. The neck and the head I painted separately because of this collar. I thought it would be good to do separately, but yeah, I painted his hands separate, his arms separate. The body trunk area and the legs and feet were all attached already when I painted them, so I had to like pivot and rotate the hip, you know, to get the paint in all the different spots. I think it was okay enough. I think it looks fine. I just didn't want to have to deal with heating that up after I had painted it, because I was afraid it was going to like rip the paint off. These I kind of had to paint separately, but to be honest, it didn't make much of a difference. I'm going to be real with you, this still chipped, unfortunately. It's a really tight joint. This one didn't chip as badly because it's loosey, but the cool thing is, so I was like, how am I going to do the shoulder pads? The cool thing is I had some leather. It wasn't black leather, I painted it, but I had some, you'll see later in the video. I had some leather, so I trimmed the fluff, like the suede or whatever, off of the inside, and then I cut kind of inward to like take the fluff off the sides. Like I kind of undercut it, so it would look more tiny. I know everybody's like, use fake leather if you're doing miniatures, and that is incredibly good advice. Problem was I didn't have any, and all I had was real leather, which I do actually prefer to work with. I don't like fake leather. I don't know, just a personal gripe. But I think he came out okay, all things considered. So I glued that little strappy thing to this, and it's kind of just held on here like a regular strap. Like, this isn't aesthetic. This is actually the only thing holding it on. And so these, you can see they've got a little wiggle to them here. So when he raises his arm, you see, normally that would be like a bad thing. You know, this would be hitting that, and there would be no room. It might snap off. But because it's on that leather strap, it's got tons of room to move, and that allows him the ability to raise his arms without me worrying about sending his shoulder pauldron thing into orbit, which to me is a bonus. Okay, all that being said, I can get into the process video now, so we're gonna clip over to that. So here's the body, like when I first got it. This is the guy, the client, the guy. Here he's got this little neck socket in there. There's his limbs. You can see the arms have fabric on them, and I didn't really want to have that. I left the leftovers in there. Here's the body, the real one I used. The guy I bought from was real nice. He sent 2 sizes in case one of them didn't fit, because, you know, he didn't have the figure I had, so it was really cool of him to do that. The smaller one ended up fitting my figure. I don't know if it's a different scale than the rest of the body, or I don't know which one of these actually goes with the pieces, but there's 2, and that one's the good one. So that was one I ended up going with because of the size of the figure I was working with, and it ended up coming out pretty nice. I'm gonna have to shave down that top bit, I think. And then the feet I already assembled here. You have to do a little sanding. I did it the wrong way on one of them, and I sanded the actual pin, which was a dummy error on my part. Of course, totally normal. If you did that too, I've been there. The second one, I actually used a round sander to get into, and that was so much better. I just sanded the hole that the pin goes into. Much better articulation on that one. Here's the head. I think the sculpt is really nice. Kudos to whoever did that. Like I said, I will link the sculptor, and I can tell you the shop that sold it. Okay, so here I am down in my dad was nice to let me use his workshop down in the basement for all the microplastic. I did clean up after myself. I didn't leave it like this. So I drilled the knee shin area down into like a stump to fit the leg onto. See, I took all the detail off these arms. I accidentally made a mistake and drilled too far on that shoulder, but I do fix that, and I'll explain how. Here's the pathetic little nub of a body left. He's got a long torso, so I actually had to hack the body in half, and I'm going to put some pins to lengthen that so that it's the right size. Yeah, I made a huge mess. I think I dropped something there. I'm like, what was happening in the original? Yeah, I knocked the body onto the floor accidentally, but that's okay. We make mistakes. But you can see how long it is, so I needed to lengthen that torso. I drilled out the shoulder bits. You can see that those discs there. That's kind of a nightmare. Yeah, but I'm hoping at this point to put... Oh yeah, here's the rods. I took some metal rods. I actually made them out of sewing needles. There they are. Yeah, so that's a big sewing needle broken in half that I drilled some holes into the body for, and I glued in there. And that held the body exactly where I wanted it to be. Definitely check from the top to make sure it's lined up if and when you do something like this, because you don't want that neck socket to be off or crooked, or you're going to be kind of kicking yourself about it. You're going to be looking up how to remove super glue from an action figure. But that ended up working out okay. I think with all things said and done, it came out just the way I wanted it to. But at this point, I was still kind of nervous because I'd never done anything like this. And here's the shoulder pieces, so I had to kind of yank those off the body. It was kind of a pain to drill them out. One of them ended up being too small, but here's that milliput, that like weird box of epoxy. I used it to hold those shoulder joints, albeit a touch messily, in place here. And that's going to get covered, but ultimately it does its job to hold things in place. Here's the green stuff over it that I sealed up the sides, the seams on the body too with that, and like where it attaches to the torso. But you can see I used it to kind of hold that body from wobbling inside a little bit and give it a little bit of a smoother texture transition. I did the arms too. You can see those. Oh, and I covered the peg joint with that so that it wouldn't slide around and I wouldn't have to worry about getting super glue in the joint. I was worried about that. You don't have to do that, but that's what I did. Here's the body put together. I think it came out okay, all things considered. But you can see how the ankles are a little loose here. That does get better when you paint it. So don't worry too much if you do one of these and that happens. Okay, so I sculpted the arms, and I actually sculpted the wrist socket for the hands because it's a straight peg that goes in there. It's not a ball socket, so I had to make like a tight-fitting joint. I think that they came out pretty okay. I do end up adding an elbow cover later on the arms. Oh, so I broke the neck thing off of that. So I had to take the neck socket from the old figure and drill a hole into that neck for it. That was kind of a nightmare. I'm not going to explain how to do that because that was a me error. Here it is all painted up. Primed, I mean. So you can see it's a good base gray. I usually try to do it for big figures where I don't need to create the illusion of shadow. I usually just paint them a flat gray. I don't bother with the drop shadow type thing like you'd do with miniatures. His hands, thankfully, I have a cork that I paint things on. I just jammed that little attachment point into there. Okay, so here's the neck all painted up. See that brown part is definitely, it's from the old figure. So I was at this time I hadn't painted the pauldrons yet because I wasn't quite sure what I was doing for attachment. So that's going to go there, but you know how I ended up doing it because I explained it earlier, but this is just my thought process. I was like, I need to put this here, but how? Figured I wouldn't paint it till I knew what I had to cut. So I ended up cutting away some of the underneath, which you can see, I think, here. Yeah, because it was just cutting into the arm too much. And I glued this leather thing. I scoured the back and I glued a leather strap to it. So yeah, I didn't record the painting of him because I'm nervous under pressure. I can't paint I can't be filmed when I'm painting. It's very stressful for me. So anyway, base coat, dry brush as much as humanly possible, and then add washing until it gets that kind of graphic CG look if you want that. I wanted that. I wanted the CG look because his sculpt to me looks more on that. It doesn't look as like it's not realistic, but you know what I mean. It looks like he does in the show. The only differences are, I think instead of, it's a little less hard and angular. It's got a little more, I want to say slightly more realism detail. Don't know if the sculptor was going for that Black Series realism thing, but I think they did a pretty decent job. The biggest difference is if you're like in just really into certain characters, you definitely would know things like he actually has more ridges on his head than this. No, this is in no way trying to bash the sculptor at all. I just wanted you guys to know if you're going to buy it, there are some differences. The head is a bit narrower here. He's got kind of a wide temple area. Typically, he's a little more. His head's a little eggier up here, and then you've got the chin is usually narrower than this, in both directions. But honestly, really nice sculpt in general though, like the tympani or whatever, they look pretty good. The eyes and the nose and stuff, they came out really nice, and the mouth detail is really good. I really like this sculpt a lot. I think it came out nice. Of course, I've been staring at this character for like 13, 14 years, so I'm probably the only person who would be like, oh, but actually, but yeah, everything else, honestly, the feet look really good. That I like that they included that little ankle joint thing. I feel like the calves look pretty decent. Like they're not over the top. Like sometimes they're like, I don't know, they just look ridiculous. But these look nice. They look more natural. And the foot doesn't jut uncomfortably. That's actually the one of the differences from the original that I actually prefer. This doesn't look as drastic. If you've ever looked at the reference material for OC Sobeck, I feel like his feet look kind of silly. These look kind of a lot. I'd say this is a huge improvement. The hands are less angular. They didn't come with fingernails, this model, but I painted them on because I know he has fingernails. I mean, I think that was something that I felt like if I left that out, it would be like bothering me. It's like not putting eyebrows on somebody who has hair eyebrows. He doesn't have hair eyebrows, but he has good brows. Very expressive. But I wanted to hit his nails to be kind of that same, like a hoof horn color, because that's what color they are. I didn't want them to look like painted nails, but I wanted them to be a bit darker, because his are. It's kind of a unique little thingy about him. I'm trying to think. I actually don't know what it is, but normally, like if you look at his reference model, there's like a little pouch here. I don't know what it is. I can't figure out what it is. I don't know. But if you've ever looked at his reference sheet or pictures of him from the Clone Wars, can you tell me what that is? Is it like maybe it's like a comm link or something, or like a taser? I don't know what it is. He carries something here, and it's like this little trapezoidal pouch. I'm not sure what it is. Gummy worm supply, emergency gummy worms. I don't know what the man carries with him, but it's there. There's some mysterious packet. I don't know what it was. I was too afraid to sculpt it because I didn't know what I was going for. I didn't know what it needed to have, not have. But anyway, other than that, I'd say really, really super. Yeah, I feel like they didn't miss a beat. Like this is, I wasn't gonna try to hand sculpt something, so I was extremely thankful for a nice little sculpt. Incredibly good job on that. Oh, that was the other thing. He has a pretty decent what do you call it? Like a gullet? Like I feel like he's got like more of a like a laryngeal bump, and he has obviously they were going for more realism, but the ridges on his neck are usually fewer and more pronounced. When I draw him, that's usually what I do, but I'd say all in all, this still reads so well. Like, this is very clearly the character. I think the sculpt makes it look like he just jumped straight out of the TV. Like, really super cool. And I'm just so thrilled I got to finally paint up this character. I finally have a figure of this guy, because he was, like, my favorite villain back then. He was just super wacky. I liked him. Incredibly cool voice. I love James Arnold Taylor's the voice he did for him. I thought it really gave the character a lot of life, a lot of quirk. So that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to say. Last, I'll just do it side by side. So here's just the 6'0" regular. He's pretty much exactly 6 inches tall in this scale. So he's a good idea of how tall OC is. He's about, believe it or not, this guy is, on the Wikipedia page, I kid you not, it says he's 6'7". I did not know the man was that tall. I knew he was tall. I was gonna guess like 6'4", you know, like a normal tall guy kind of height. But 6'7" is, that's a lot. I mean, I always joke about Star Wars making their characters super tall for no reason, but why did you make him super tall for no reason? But he did come out exactly to scale, which is ridiculous because I wasn't like, that wasn't my main focus. It just sort of happened, and I'm thrilled. So that's great. Still not as tall as Grievous. This isn't the Black Series Grievous. This is the super lightweight, super fragile, but also very, very cool looking. I think this is the Bandai model kit, yeah. But very, yeah, he's pretty good to scale, but you can see he's shorter than him, but he's taller than him. So came up pretty decent. I'm happy with him. He doesn't weigh a ton. I was worried with all the epoxies he was going to be top heavy, but he didn't. I think I left enough air pockets in there that it was not too bad. But yeah, that's him, and I'm sure if you have any questions, I could probably answer them in the comments about how I did that. I know other people have made figures of him before, but I haven't seen anyone use this kit yet, so I thought it probably was a good idea to make a video on it in case anyone else wants to do it. Yeah, all right, cool. I'm not sure how many other customs I'm going to do. This one was just kind of important to me, but if I ever do any more, maybe I'll make a video. We'll see. So thanks for watching.